Welcome back to In the Midst. Today we are going to continue our series on intimacy in marriage. Today is part 2 of our 4-part series. So I will link in the comments where you can read this or go back to the last video for part 1. So one simple step that we can take as wives to create intimacy, sometimes it is just happen, it is spontaneous, it is all the emotions and stuff like we talked about. But we also have to be intentional on creating intimacy, creating an environment that welcomes it, that makes your husband want to be affectionate, physically intimate, all these things. And men aren't as apt to do that if they're stressed. So, he's worked all day. Maybe you both have worked. I get that. That's a hard balance. But he's worked all day. He comes home. Things are chaos. It's dirty. It's cluttered. It's loud. Dinner's not ready. It's, hey, as soon as he walks in the door, you're like, hey, can you do this, this, and this? Or go deal with the kid or go whatever. That doesn't welcome a space for intimacy. So one piece of advice that I always give is when you clean the home, start in your bedroom first. Keep your bedroom clean. Don't let piles of laundry be on the bed so that now we're ready to go to bed and it's now you're met with this mountain of laundry we have to deal with right now, or we can't even go to bed, or we throw it back in a basket and repeat the cycle the next day. It's not getting anywhere. Our room, the bed gets made in the morning. I don't fold laundry on our bed, really. If I do, I dump it and I fold it right then. I do not dump it and leave. And it's one load at a time, one basket. So it's not a lot. And I do it right away. If it's something that I can't get to right now, then I'll leave it in the dryer or I'll put it in a basket in the laundry room. It does not just sit in our room. I try not to leave things, on the nightstands. If someone had a drink from the night before, let's take it out. It's just being, we think of the bedroom first, and it just needs to always be ready for relaxation, for intimacy, for connection. Like I said before in the last video, intimacy is not just physical, sexual intimacy, but it's everything. It's just that connection. And if my husband comes in and the bedroom's a mess and there's laundry everywhere and, the kids are hunkered down in our room watching TV, he's like, what's going on? Not that he's necessarily upset, not that it can't be fixed, in about 3 seconds, but that initial reaction is, this is supposed to be my space. So keep it welcoming, keep it inviting. Maybe you need, candles instead of a lamp, something with low light. Put a diffuser, an oil diffuser in instead of a candle, something like that where it can just go and create that atmosphere. We do have a TV in our room. Some people don't, whatever works for you. But at night when we're done unwinding, we've had showers, we're ready to go to bed, the TV gets turned off. We don't just leave it on all night and fall asleep with the TV on. When you keep the home clean and inviting and welcoming and decluttered, that's my husband's biggest thing. He doesn't really see dirt, he sees clutter. So when the blankets that we leave in the living room aren't folded, and the kids have toys on the floor, someone's shoes aren't put away, and someone didn't push a chair in the dining room table, and it's a whole lot going on, that's when he's like, okay, we have to fix this. So keep that just picked up and inviting. That's going to help him to come in from work or from whatever. When he walks in, he's home. He can relax, he can rest. When he gets home, the kids want to go up and hug him and, hey, daddy's home, and life stops and the world's great again. And that's great. I love it. I want them to do that. But when dad comes in and you've said hello, you've had your hugs and kisses, you need to back up. And I know that probably sounds mean, but if dad wants to come sit on the couch and watch TV for a few minutes while I finish getting dinner ready, you can sit with him. Just be quiet. He needs to come in. Maybe he wants to talk about his day. Maybe he's like, I have something I have to go run out and do it. Whatever. I just try to give him that space to just unwind for a second, turn your work brain off, and relax. That's important. He needs that. If not, he gets overwhelmed, overstimulated, and he's like, okay, too much. I can't do it. I don't want him to be met with just more noise and chaos and questions and requests and all that. So It's a tip. And I've always done that. And I think some of it was unintentionally. I don't remember ever consciously saying and thinking like, I need to not do this. But since that's what I've done, it's just how things are. And he loves that when he gets home, the kids are like, yay, Dad's home. We make a big deal of Daddy coming home. I don't want them to take for granted that Daddy came home. Anything can happen, and we could get a phone call today that Daddy's not coming home, or Daddy's going to be in the hospital before he gets to come home. So I don't want them to take health and safety for granted. And when he's home, I'm probably not running the washing machine. I do that while he's gone. I'm not vacuuming the floor. Unless it just has to happen. And sometimes on Saturday afternoon, we just have to vacuum and run a load of laundry. I'm not saying never do anything when he's home. We don't normally do school when he's home. So like last week when he was sick all week long, we didn't do any schoolwork. Not that it would be a bother to him, but it's just a distraction for my kids. Dad's home. They want to hang out with Dad. So that's okay. I'm not saying, don't let them have that time, or don't, clean when he's home or anything like that. Just be conscious of the time, of all that he's being met and bombarded with, and remember to keep things clean, tidy, welcoming for intimacy. Another tip is sleep together. I understand there's health concerns, we're on opposite shifts, somebody's sleep apnea machine's running, whatever the case is. But if possible, sleep together. Some people just have a habit of, we don't sleep together, we don't go to bed at the same time, and we sleep in separate beds in the same room or whatever. My husband works HVAC, so he sees different houses, and he has been in and had the chance to see houses that have two master bedrooms. It's on, the second floor, opposite ends of the hallway. I don't know if that's just a master bedroom for a guest to come over and now they've got their own bathroom, or if the husband and wife really are just sleeping separately in separate rooms. So that is heartbreaking, but that's not how this is supposed to be. We are one. And I understand, like I said, health problems and extenuating circumstances, but if possible, break that habit. Sleep together. I heard people say, I can't, I need my own space. I don't want you to touch me. I don't want whatever. I need my space. Get a bigger bed. We have a king size bed. My husband's 6'5". We don't touch all night long, but we're in the same bed. We fall asleep touching. And sometimes we'll, move a foot or whatever to, touch for a second, but he generates heat like a bear. So I can't sleep next to him all night. I'll smother, it feels like. But we're in the same bed. We're in the same room. And I feel like that's important. There's been times that I've had really bad dreams, or I've woken up in pain, and he's right there. So that is a very important sense of security for me. So just something to think about. See what you can do to make this work if you're not sleeping together now. Your children do not need any access really to your room. If you don't want them to have it, they definitely don't need unlimited access. I tell my kids all the time, for some reason on Sunday morning they want to congregate in my bedroom, and I'm okay, this is not your personal hangout space. Get out of my room. We're in there finishing getting ready and making the bed, and my husband turns the TV on in the mornings for a little bit sometimes. So I'm just like, okay, I know, but please stop. Get out of my room. If the door's shut, you have to knock. Do not just open the door and walk into my room. This is my space. Company and visitors and guests do not have to have access to your room. You want to show the house, you want to welcome them over, here's the living room, here's the fridge, here's the bathroom. Stay out of my room. Nobody has to be in here. Ours is a master bedroom. We do have a bathroom in there, but
We have 2 bathrooms.
use the hall bathroom. Nobody needs to be in my room. This is your private space. It's allowed to be private. You're not obligated to have people in there. Shower together. This is something that we've done for years, and it's not just a sexual thing. It's just time. We're just taking a shower, but it creates intimacy. We're vulnerable. There's nothing being hidden right now. And for some reason we talk. Sometimes it's just funny conversations, what happened in the day, how it was work. And sometimes it's deep conversations. We're budgeting. We're talking about, vacation and all this stuff. Or maybe someone said something today and I'm like, man, I'm just kind of bothered by this, and we just have all kinds of conversations. We talk all the time anywhere, important or otherwise. These conversations, this time to connect, is important. Some conversations we can have, as we're getting in bed for the night and the kids are in bed and the TV's on, we're just hanging out. But some of them can't. Some deep conversations can't be had before you go to sleep, because now we're not going to sleep. Now we're stressed. Now we got to find a solution or whatever. So just find a time that works best. And even now where we live, the shower is not big enough. It's just a single stand-up, like a shower stall. And both of us don't fit in there. So I'll sit in the bathroom. I'll sit on the sink, or by the sink, and talk to him. And just, how's your day? What's going on? Or, you know what I saw on Facebook today? Just anything, just to talk. It's 10 minutes. The kids will be okay for 10 minutes while we just talk. And that's okay. Something else I would recommend, that I don't have Bible for some of these. I'm just trying to give applicable tips, okay? So I don't want anyone to get upset and say, there's no scripture for that. I know that. But the Bible does say prefer one another. It does say dwell together according to knowledge. Render due benevolence to each other. So these are just principles, things that have worked, things you can try and see where it goes, see what it does for your marriage. So the next one is going to be pet names. You have to find out what works best for you with this as well. Some people want something more unique, special to me, not just a generic babe, honey, dear, whatever. But if you do, great. That's all we have. We hardly ever use our first names. If Bobby comes to me and he's like, hey, Heather, I'm like, what did I do? Why did you say that? He's probably upset. Even in public, it's babe. When he calls me, I answer the phone. I say, hey, honey. He says, hey, babe. That's what we do. If you read through the book of Song of Solomon, he calls his bride by many names and descriptions. He talks about how beautiful she is and how much he loves her, and he describes parts of her body, and he's not using her name. So just keep this in mind. It's just another way to show affection. Wear your wedding ring. Again, I don't have scripture for this, and I know there's jobs that don't allow it. I get that. My husband worked in a factory for about 7 months a few years ago, and he couldn't wear his ring. So he would take it off before he left, but he'd put it back on when he got home. Years ago, he worked in a carpet mill. Same thing. He actually would wear it on a chain, a short necklace, where it was enough to tuck in his shirt, because at the carpet mill, you couldn't have anything dangling and anything from the elbows down. So he would do that. He worked 2 on, 2 off, 2 on, 2 off. So there's 2 days he didn't wear his ring. But those 2 days he was home, he did. He didn't always see it or remember it, especially like if he lays it on the sink to wash his hands or on the nightstand or whatever. Sometimes I'd have to come behind him and go, here's your ring. And he'd put it on. Wasn't a big deal. Now they have the silicone rings. If you have a job that doesn't allow that, there's options. You're not at work all the time. I'm not saying you need to go spend $500 on a ring, but just something, a placeholder that says, I'm married. Your ring is a symbol of your wedding day. It's a circle that doesn't end. It's a representation of our unending, unconditional love. It's just a symbol to remind you of that commitment you made on your wedding day. And when you wear it, most spouses feel like, okay, you're telling the world you're married. A very sad occurrence today is some people are they don't care if you're married, and they want to have inappropriate conversations and inappropriate advancements. And there's a couple they're my best friends. They're very close to me. And the husband has said more than once, I've had less women hit on me when I take my ring off than when I wear it. And his ring is a hazard for his job. But that's sad. As a society, that boundary, that wedding band is not being respected for what it should be. So, be aware of that. If someone is married, they are off limits. God is not going to send you somebody else's husband. It's not going to happen. So respect that boundary, that relationship, that symbol. Publicly display your affection. This looks different for everyone. Some people, it's just those pet names. It's maybe we sit together, we hold hands. It's whatever that needs to be. Just don't be ashamed of your spouse. Whether you're in public or in private, they are yours. They are your person. And you two are the only ones that get to enjoy this connection, this intimacy, this relationship. No one else is supposed to be in this. So, ask, what that might look like for your spouse if they want to. If you want them to publicly display affection, just say, hey, do you care to hold my hand when we walk through the Walmart? Whatever it is. My husband is very physical touch. So that doesn't bother him at all to hold my hand or, have his arm around me when we're walking through the store or at dinner or whatever. If you go out with friends or even family for dinner, sit together. A lot of the times we sit directly across from each other. We've got a kid on each side. But if it's just us, it's just grown-ups. We go double date with someone else from church. We sit together. We sit on the couch together sometimes. And sometimes I let the kids sit over there with him. But just sit together. That's just, no one comes between us. That's an important boundary to hold. And that's something that even I let go a lot. I don't sit on the couch with him as much as I used to. I sit over here in my chair, and I've got, there's a table between us, but it's a cozy, comfortable thing. I don't know. It's a weird thing. But so I have to make a conscious effort to get up, go sit next to him. And I will. I'll scoot the kids down. Okay, let's get over. I'm going to come sit by Dad. And he'll ask me. He's like, hey, come sit over here with me. And, okay, you're right. I need to come sit with you. So he invites me to sit with him. He wants that space, that physical touch, that closeness. So if your husband is asking for that, appreciate it. Don't treat it like it's a nuisance. The biggest way to get him to stop showing that is when you shrug it off, when you move away from his touch, when he wants you to come sit with him and you're like, nah, I'm okay. It's not showing that he's a priority and that connection is important to you. Should be. So make the effort to connect. Some of these probably seem silly, insignificant. If you're already doing them, you're like, wow, who doesn't do this? If you're not doing it, maybe you're thinking, we don't do that and we're fine. That's not a big deal. Everything's a big deal. There really are. We always say the small things add up. The small things make a difference. If those small things are what's making a difference, then they're really not as small as we think they are. They might seem easy. They might seem insignificant. They might seem natural. So maybe that's why we call them small things. But they're really not. So make sure you're taking the effort and the time to say, you are a priority. I'm not ashamed of you. I'm glad I'm married to you. When's the last time you said that? And just ask your spouse, what do you want from me? Do you feel loved, appreciated? Do you feel like there's enough affection? Do you want to change anything? Do you want to hold my hand in public? Do you want to kiss me in public? That's something that is going to be different for everyone, but some form of these things I really think should be involved in your marriage. One way to discourage your spouse, like I said, is when you pull away and then you're like, wow, you never touch me anymore. And he's like, you don't want me to. Be careful of how you're responding to your husband. These will greatly affect your relationship. When you're washing dishes or cooking dinner and he comes up and he puts his head on your shoulder or he puts his arms around you, the first thing you say, that's how you really feel. So is your first response, I'm cooking, can you stop? Why are you doing this? Then he's going to be like, okay, never mind, there goes that. If you're concerned that you just want sex, this is going to lead to sex, I'm trying to fold the laundry, I'm trying to cook dinner, why do you always want to do this? Then that's going to really cause him to shut down. It doesn't always have to lead to sex, especially at 5 p.m, you're cooking dinner. He's aware you're cooking dinner, and I promise you he doesn't want his food to burn. Okay? So be just more open, receptive to that. Not everyone likes physical touch, so make sure if that's not your thing, you communicate that clearly. You just say to your husband, that it bothers me, I feel smothered, I feel claustrophobic, whatever it is, maybe we can do this instead. Just a pop kiss on the cheek as you walk by. I don't need you to put your arms around me and hold me and just, So clearly communicate what it is you don't like. Otherwise, he's going to take that as a full personal rejection of you don't want him to touch you. If that's not the case, just say, this is what I don't like. Can we do this instead? Give him other options rather than just rejection. Keep Christ at the center. these are principles. There's more principles in scripture about this, but we have a lot to learn and a long way to go. And if you try something and it doesn't work, that's okay. It's not a big deal. Your marriage is not going to look exactly like mine, exactly like your neighbor, exactly like your best friend. It doesn't have to. It's not supposed to. So just continue to work on your marriage. Continue to find things that work for you, something new. Maybe you need to be intentional about date night. We are terrible with scheduling date night. Whatever it is, it's just that time. Intimacy is more than sex. Intimacy is connection, vulnerability, openness, honesty, and being one. You are one flesh. Make sure you're cultivating that each and every day. So I hope this is a help and an encouragement, maybe even a challenge to continue to work on your marriage. So until next time, stay in the Word, stay close to the shepherd, and let him lead you in paths of righteousness.